Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for 101 Automotive Maintenance is our workshop today, and we're super excited to have everyone join us and learn all about maintenance from our special guest and partner through the University of Maryland Extension Office in Allegheny County, Maryland. And I am Carrie Pannoni with the Maryland Business Roundtable for Education. I'm the Next Generation Scholars Coordinator for Fort Hill High School. And our guest from the University of Maryland is Jesse Ketterman, Dr. Ketterman. He is going to lead us through the demo workshops. So as you're joining us, please make sure your camera's on, your microphone is muted, and I'm going to go down a list of the PowerPoint of what we're going to be talking about today before Jesse gets started. And so let me share my screen and we'll go through that. So we're here, hopefully everyone can see that. Awesome. Here's just the reminders. If you want to ask questions during the session, raise your hand. It's a little hand symbol right beside your microphone, and you can use that. Click on that to ask a question, or you can ask questions in the chat box. Feel free to do either. And you can unmute to answer the questions if you'd like to verbally ask them at that time. And we're doing our introductions now. Make sure you put your first name, your school, your county and grade, and list your dream car in the chat. A few of the students have already done so. And I want to let you know that we are going to talk about dashboard indicators, opening the hood, washer fluid, oil, and antifreeze checks, checking your tires, and changing your tires. So, and then we're going to have questions and a quick survey for everyone at the end to show that you were on here and you participated. I need you to complete a quick survey, and then we're going to wrap it up. So our next slide is about the introductions, which I already went over that. So our demo is, we're ready to start. So Jesse, if you want to take it from here for our dashboard demo. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Carrie. And again, my name is Jesse Ketterman. I'm with University of Maryland Extension, and I'm going to give you a general overview on some car maintenance things to consider or things to be at least aware of. In 30 minutes, it's going to be a quick overview. So pay attention, and all this information, I'm going to show you where you can find it in your car. So I'm sitting in my car right now. And the first thing you need to know about is the booklet. And let me pull it here. Every car, put my mic around. There we go. So every car is going to have a booklet. Here's my automotive booklet. I'm in my Hyundai. I have a Hyundai Elantra Touring. And in that book is going to cover all the maintenance information that you need to know. Now, where do you find this? You're going to find it in your glove box. It's going to be in the glove box of the car. So everything I talk about today and more, you'll find in this booklet. This is what you need to know. So when you get into a car and you turn the key on, you're going to get all your dashboard lights. And so I'm getting things turned to where you can see them here. So already you can see my RPMs, the engine temperature, the gas level, and the miles per hour. And then there in the middle, you can see my left door is open, and I have 112,000 miles on this car, right? So you can see all those things. When I turn the key forward, not quite starting it, you'll see all these lights light up. And those are all your warning lights. And if you have one of those lights come on as you're running your car, you're going to want to stop and check it out and go back to your booklet to see what that particular issue is. And so let me talk to you about what those are. I'm going to turn it off and back on because some of them go off right away, and I'll try to point those out to you as we get started. So you can see there's a TPMS and and the light beside it. I'm going to do it one more time so you can see it. It's on the left side. They were yellow. TPMS and the and so that has to deal with your tires. It's the tire pressure management system, and the other indicates one beside it tells you when your tire is low on air. So those are the first two. You see that EPS. That EPS is the power steering. You can see the battery light there with the positive and negative terminal. Below that, you see the transmission in orange. And to the left of that is the oil. And so those are all the warning gauges you're looking at. You can see if the brake is on. Now my brake light will stay on, and my seatbelt light are also there. So right now, I'll pull the emergency brake. You'll see the brake on. If I take my emergency brake off, you'll see that light goes off. And my emergency brake in this particular car is just right here. You pull the handle. So there's your emergency brake, all those lights. And if any of those turn on while you're driving, so I'll start my car up, and everything except the emergency brake, and I'll take the emergency brake off, all those lights will go off. And so when I'm driving, as long as everything's off, you're good. A light kicks on, you know there's something there you need to check out. Okay? So that's the first part. Now, trying to figure out what's under the hood. To begin with, you got to know how to get under the hood. And to do that, most cars have a little latch down under here, and it usually has a picture of a hood on it, and you can see that picture, and you'll pull that, and that'll release the first catch on your hood. So now we're going to go around to the hood, and I'll show you some things underneath the hood. And when you get to the hood, it's latched here because there's a second locking mechanism. And pretty much what you do is you put your hand underneath there, and you'll feel a knob, and you'll pull that up or push it down, whichever way it'll go, and that'll allow you to lift the hood. And you can see now, all I did was lift this little latch that opened the hood. And then there's going to be a handle for the hood in some location. Mine's up high. Some of them are down low, and you push them up, and there's a slot for them to go in. And so now we're under the hood. Let me get my sleeper towel. So under the hood, you can see over here, you have your battery. On my particular car, there's a fuse box underneath here. Sometimes the fuse box is inside the car. It depends, but that's what I have here on my car. Is the fuse box. Other things that you can see here. This is my transmission fluid. We're not going to check that today, but that's what the transmission fluid is over here. The yellow one, we have engine oil, and you can see it typically has the word engine oil on it. We have washer fluid here, coolant here, and if you have power steering fluid, there will be a reservoir for your power steering fluid and your brake fluid. And so, but we're not going to go into them today, but here's I think my brake fluid back here. So when you check your engine oil, of course, your engine is going to be turned off. You're going to be on level ground. Then you'll come here and you'll pull out this dipstick. It's called a dipstick. I don't know why. And you wipe the oil off of it. Now, when you wipe the oil off of it, now I'm using a paper towel. You could use a rag. But on there, there's a full mark and a low mark. And now mine are marked with the 2 dots. Sometimes it's a line. It depends upon what it says. And again, if you look in your booklet, it'll tell you specifically for your car. But you want to make sure your oil level is between those 2 lines. Now, so I'll put it back in all the way down, pull it back out, and I can see my oil levels right about in there, which is okay.
Oh, we can't see the oil level on the dipstick. There we go.
There you go. So mine, it's actually right about here, but which I can tell by the color you can see there, but it's actually right about here. So my oil level's okay. And again, you might check your oil level. If you have an older car, you'll probably want to check it every time you fill it up with gas. If you have a newer car, you know, you would only really need to check it when the engine light comes on. And so that's kind of would be my rule of thumb. As long as you get your car serviced on a regular basis, get the oil changed. You may also want to check it if you notice there's a puddle of oil in the driveway, that kind of thing. So over here is my engine coolant. And how I check my engine coolant level is over here on the side, there's two lines. And one is a low line and one's a full line. And as long as my fluid is between those two, I'm good. And so a lot of times for me to check that, I might have to wiggle the car a little bit just to see where the fluid moves around. And that'll tell me where that coolant level is. Here's my washer fluid. That's probably one you would fill the most, and really it's, it has a full line right here on this one. You open it up. Now I see mine's a little low, so I just have a bottle of washer fluid that I bought at the store, right? And I'll just pour that in there. A lot of times you use a funnel so you don't make a mess. But there, I put some in there. I'm not quite up to the line, but that's essentially what you do with your washer fluid. And those are kind of the key fluids that you're going to check on your car. Again, the engine coolant, make sure that's good. Your washer fluid, your engine oil, and then, like I said, your power steering fluid and your brake fluid. On this one, the brake fluid is back here, a little tougher to see. But those are the basics underneath the engine.
Are there any, let me see, does anyone have any questions? If you do, raise your hand. We can unmute, you can unmute, use the raise your hand symbol. If you have a question about any of these parts or filling the fluids of the car to make things run. Anyone else? Any questions at this time?
Now, like oil, there's lots of different kinds of oil out there, and there are different types of coolant fluids. And that's where you have to go back to your book, check your book to see what it recommends in terms of the type of oil that you may use or the type of coolant you may use. Because some of that's going to depend upon the manufacturer of the car, and they're going to have their recommended products.
Jesse, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What are the ones that you check, the liquids that you have to have the car running? Are there any that you have to have the car running to check the amount of liquid?
I'd have to read up on it, but a lot of, in some cars, you're going to have your engine running when you check the transmission oil.
Yeah.
But all the ones that we discussed today, the engine oil, the coolant, the washer fluid, all those are checked with the engine off.
Check with your engine off on everything except transmission. So that's good to note. Yeah. And just to let everybody know, we're going to send a link with all of this information in the follow-up recap email. So if you miss anything during his presentations, we'll follow up, and all the information is provided on, and even more than what we can provide today, with a link that we have for you.
And I didn't read up on the transmission fluid, so check what your book says about how to check the transmission fluid. Again, in the older days, you used to make sure it was running, but I'm not exactly sure because I didn't look that up today. But in that booklet I showed you at the beginning, it'll tell you about how to check that transmission fluid. So did we have any questions so far? All right, so come on, we're going to come around to the door of the car. There's some important information you'll find in the door of the car. So there's typically two stickers. There's one sticker that you'll find here, and this is titled tire and loading information. But this is where you'll need to look to see how much air pressure there should be in your tire. And so on mine, I see front tire, 32 pounds of pressure. Rear tire, 32 pounds of pressure. That's pretty typical. 32 pounds of pressure is pretty typical for most tires, but you can find it here inside the door. And then also information about your car, because sometimes if you go to a car shop and you need to change your lights or your wipers or something like that, they'll need to know what year your car is and what make. And so you can see over here, there's manufacturing information about my car. So I have a July 2010 Hyundai Elantra, and so if they need to know what information about your car, here's where you can find some of that information in your car. And sometimes it's in this area, sometimes it'll be different places, higher and lower, but this is in general where it's going to be. So when it comes to checking your pressure in your tire, basically you'll go to the tire, and somewhere around the tire you're going to see a tire cap. And here's where mine is at. I would unscrew that cap, and that cap will eventually come off, and you'll just set it aside. Make sure you keep track of it because it's easy to lose. And then you'll get your tire gauge, something similar like this. You can buy them, Walmart, any automotive store will have them. And you'll just push that on there and hold it for a second, and then it'll tell you what your tire pressure is. And then if you need air, you'll want to pump it up to those specifications that I mentioned that are inside the door. Now, I'm not here to promote any location or over one or the other, but I can tell you that Sheetz gives you free air. Some places you'll go and they'll charge you for air. Sheetz has a little air pumping station there, and you can set this dial to 32 pounds of pressure, and you just push it on there, and it'll actually ding when it reaches 32. So Sheetz is a nice place to go to check your air. Again, I'm not promoting Sheetz, but they do have a free tire pressure gauge, and their pump is set up. Because if I was to use my air compressor at home, I'd put some air in it, and then I'd have to check it, put some air in it, and check it until I got to 32 pounds of pressure. So the easy thing to do is just go to Sheetz, turn that dial to 32, and it kicks off automatically. Now, if I'm going down the road and I have a flat tire, I may have to change the tire. And unfortunately, I don't have time to go through the whole process of changing a tire, but I'll show you the basics of what you need to know to do that. So we're going to move to the back of the car. If you have a car, a lot of times you're going to find this stuff in the trunk of the car. On a truck, you may find some of this the pieces you need behind the seat, and the tire itself may actually be underneath of the vehicle itself. But here in this car, it's got this cover in the back. I'll pull that cover out, and that's why when you're going down the road, you'll see somebody that has everything set out of their car when they're changing their tire, because they filled up their trunk, and then they got a flat tire, and then they got to take everything out to get to the tire. So here in my car, this is where that information is, or those tools that you need. You'll pull one out, it's the lug wrench, and I'll show you that in a minute. And then these other pieces are all to do part of the jack, and they call this a scissor jack because basically what happens is you put this in there and you turn it, and that makes it go up and down. And you got to make sure you read your manual, because this jack has to be on a solid part of your car, and that way you won't bend. If it's a plastic area or fiberglass, if you put your jack up, you could bend that. So make sure you follow your vehicle's instructions in terms of where to put your jack. But that's essentially how the jack works. Again, just swivels and turns. And, I'd have to unscrew this to get the tire out. And these are, when you see that your tire is smaller than the other tires on your car, that's because it is a temporary tire. It's only supposed to be used to get you to where you need to go to get your tire fixed. So I don't even know what the limitations are, but I know you're only supposed to use it for a very short period of time. It's not a tire that you will replace. And and then drive forever on it. You have to get that tire fixed right away. So if I went over to the car, over to the tire again, this wrench here with the head on it would fit on these lug nuts. I'd loosen all the lug nuts. Now, before I'd loosen, I'd want to jack the car up, but I'd loosen the lug nuts. Sometimes people have a wheel cover on, and you can use a tool like this to pop that off. Be careful you don't break it, but pop it off. Mine I could take off without pulling this off. Loosen up all those lug nuts. And then, again, make sure you have your jack on. You would lift your car up, pull this tire off, put the other tire on, and then when you tighten the lug nuts up, you start here and go diagonally across, just so you're putting your tire on evenly, and go back to them. And you basically you're tightening them about as tight as you can get your arms to push down on it. And that's pretty much what you need to know with changing your tire. Now the jack would end up going over here somewhere on the car. And again, you'd read the instruction manual just to look at where exactly to locate it, but it has to be on the frame, not on the plastic.
And did you say, Jesse, to make sure to loosen the lug nuts before you put the jack, so that way you're not shifting the car?
So you want to put your jack in. You would want to put your jack in and jack it up and get some of the pressure off of this tire.
I gotcha.
You want to leave it touching the ground a little bit, because if you don't have it touching the ground, sometimes the tire will spin on you.
Oh, right.
So I'll leave it touching the ground a little bit just to keep it from spinning, but not to where there's all the weight of the back of the car is on it. I want to get the weight off the tire. And then when I got the lug nuts loosened, I jack it up higher. That would allow me to pull the tire off. And a lot of times what happens, especially with a flat tire, is you'll jack it up and you'll pull the other tire off. But when you go to put the new tire back on, you have to jack it up a little bit higher, because the flat tire, had it sitting down an inch or two,
Right. That makes sense. Does anyone have any questions? Raise your hand. Awesome. Well, thank you for these wonderful presentations, Jesse. And I have just a little bit of time left before the end of our session. Oh, Finian has a question. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I was just wondering, is there a specific car that really ticks all of the boxes for you, or almost all of the boxes?
Takes all the what? I didn't hear what the last word was.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes. I just couldn't understand what your last word was.
Oh, okay. I just meant, is there a specific car that ticks all of the boxes for you?
Like a favorite car of his? Is that what you're saying?
Like I mean, I guess it's just one that, you think works the best, or it just is the best in your opinion.
Oh no, I guess I really can't go down the road of recommending a particular car. I think people need to look at cars based upon how they're gonna use them. So like this car for me is a car that I use to travel back and forth to work. So I travel longer distances in it. It gets good gas mileage for me. The tires, they don't wear. They last longer, and they're not as expensive. As I also have a truck, and so my truck, I only really drive that locally and use that for kind of some of my work-related stuff. But when I go long distances, I don't like to take my truck, because the tires to replace my tires on my truck is a lot more expensive than to replace the tires on this. So depending upon how you plan to use the vehicle, how much you can afford, all of those things are going to be factors.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions before we play a quick game? All right. Well, if you happen to think of one, you're always welcome to put it in the chat. And I'm going to share my screen again and pull up a quick game. It's going to be a minute to win it game. And we're going to play minute to win it. Name that car symbol. Now, I know Mr. Ketterman went over a few of those symbols, and some are pretty obvious, others aren't as much, but let's test your knowledge. And I'm going to set the timer and do a minute once I put up all the symbols on the screen, and I want you to type in chat, don't send it until you have all the list of all the symbols that you can name in 1 minute, okay? So everyone get ready. We're going to start with the first symbol. Here we go. Second, there are 12 symbols in all. If you see these indicators pop up on your dashboard, what do they mean? Tell us in the chat all 12 or as many as you can name, and we'll see who wins, who has the most out of 12. And get ready and start now. You have 1 minute. I should have all right, we'll do a quick timer. Countdown here. 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. All right, everyone, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Oh, there's the answers. Let's see how many people have chimed in on chat. All right. Oh, wow. Great answers. Let's see. Battery, Finian has battery, gas, oil, door open, temp, high beams, warning, seatbelt lights, windshield liquid. Okay, awesome. Laura, oil low and door open. Jordan said battery, gas engine, check engine light, right. Oil, door open, temperature gauge, lights, seatbelt, and headlights are on. Low battery, low fuel. Nadeja, put your seatbelt on. Great, great. Dana, let's see, you had the same things, low fuel, oil, the blinker. Laura had seatbelt undone. Savannah and Kayla, we didn't get the shared screen. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'll pop the answers back up on the shared screen here shortly. Alexis had check engine light, gas light, oil, car light. Okay, so let's see what they all were. Dakota had car battery needs replaced, low gas, change oil, open doors, wiper fluid, emergency light. Okay, let's see. Let me share the screen again, and you'll see the answers for all. And I'll share this with you. Can everybody see that? Hopefully Kayla and Savannah can see this. These are all of the signals, and actually more. I only had 12 on there. The ones that I had were tire pressure low, temperature warning, door open, seatbelt, headlights on. The blue light one was high beams. That meant your high beams were on. Oil pressure, low fuel, check engine light, and your battery warning. So those were the 12 that I selected, but obviously there are a lot more, and potentially these are universal, but they could vary. So the next slide, And I know we went over a lot of stuff today about auto maintenance, but I'd like you to take the survey. I'll put the link in the chat. And, oops, sorry. I just got out
So,
of that.
Carrie, I have one more thing.
Oh, sure. Go ahead and share that while I share the link.
All right. So the one thing to remember too, when you close your engine hood, let me switch things around. In my case here, I need to pull it off of the stand. So I'll do that and put it back up here. And then I'll bring it about halfway down, and then I'll just let it go. It'll sit tight up against the hood. So I just wanted to let people know you don't set that down gently, because it has to catch on both of those latches. And you'll see I can't put my hand under here right now when it's the whole way down. So now I know that my hood is closed.
All right. Those are all great tips. If everyone could, let's see here. I'm trying to post the survey in the chat. Let me. Well, sorry, this is taking so long. There we go.
And always be prepared to get dirty, because anytime you go under the engine of your car, there's a chance you're going to get grease on you in some way, shape, or form. So know that in advance. Don't wear your Sunday best. Check your oil.
That's a good tip. Definitely. You get that oil on you and it's not coming off too easily. All right. So for those of you who haven't joined us before, we have surveys that we fill out at the end of our session. And we have a box, the QR code. If you have an iPhone, all you have to do is take a picture of that box or bring your camera up, and it should automatically take you to the link to complete the survey. So if you could take a minute to complete the survey quickly, we really appreciate your feedback. And we're trying to stick to that 30-minute session, and we've just hit that mark. So I want to thank Dr. Ketterman and his son also for helping with the camera, for joining us today to share all of the helpful hints and tips with auto maintenance. And we are going to have a recap email go out to everyone today. It'll have a link to all the information that was provided. And in case you missed the survey, I also send a link to the survey in the email as well. But if you could take a minute to complete that now, you don't have to think about it and do it later. So I really appreciate your feedback. So does anyone have any other questions? All right. Well, just want to remind everyone to join us on Thursday. Mr. Ketterman's going to be back, and we're going to be talking about a budget. How do we budget our money? And I know some of you have put in the surveys that you're interested in learning about that. So make sure that you join us for the budgeting workshop at 2 o'clock on Thursday. And also, if you would like, we have at MBRT a free resource called Way to Be. It's an app available on Android and Apple on the App Store, and you can download it. And it has all of your college and career readiness activities and information to help you plan ahead for your future. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Ketterman. Thank you. And we'll see you guys on Thursday. Awesome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye. Welcome.
Laura? Are you still on?